Well, here it is, Sram's new GX transmission, which brings a more robust and lower cost option to their new T-Type line of drivetrains. Now, when Sram released their new transmission lineup back in March, they just about broke the mountain biking internet. There was no shortage of derailleur jumping videos and subsequent memes, and a huge mix of bewilderment and skepticism, which is no surprise, as this direct mount design was one of the more significant changes we've seen in recent years. And such change is going to elicit all sorts of feelings. Now, I covered all of the details on the release here on this channel, which I'll link in the description below. But today, I'm going to cover what's unique to the latest GX release and give a few of my thoughts on my experience over the last 4 months on this new T-Type design. It's no secret I was not a fan of the previous generation Axis. I wasn't even remotely on the fence about it. It was noisy, it didn't really offer an improvement in performance, and I personally struggled with the design of the shifter. This is the pod, it's a little different. So going into the new design, there was a lot that needed to happen to win me over, but here we are 4 months later, and transmission remains on my Ritmo, which is my primary bike. That says a lot. And today I'm going to tell you that from my experience so far, this isn't just an incremental step forward, it's a huge leap. I already covered my very positive impressions on how easy it was to set up and how insanely well it shifted out of the box. But now that I've had some time putting it through the paces, I can say the overall performance has remained rock solid. There was a point which I experienced some minor shifting issues, and I used the recommended method for micro adjusting the shifters on the fly, and it resolved the issue right away. I've not had a single hiccup since. Now, if you follow the channel, you know one of the main things I've commented on is how quiet the whole system is out on the trail. And I really can't express enough how big that difference truly is. It was so foreign that it really threw me off at first, almost like something was simply missing from the bike. As silly as this may sound to some of you, a noisy bike stresses me out. There's always a little voice in the back of my head questioning if something's wrong, and that can put a damper on my mental game. Having a really quiet bike has a very undervalued effect on inspiring confidence. And when I'm confident, I'm more active on the bike, I ride smoother, and I have more fun. So for me, the dramatic difference achieved with this design is a huge win. Lastly, I was skeptical of the new controller. I initially had it set up with the remote bridge clamp, which was okay, but I swapped it out for this figure 8 style discrete clamp, which really opened up the positioning possibilities. I've been getting along great with this controller ever since. So transmission stays on my daily driver, and I have no plans of swapping it out anytime soon. And now we've got this new GX line to talk about. So what's different here? Well, following the historical footprint of GX, you get the same general performance, but in a slightly heavier, although more robust package. Sram describes GX as the diligent workhorse that never complains. But there's a little more to it than that, and Sram isn't waiting for the next generation to roll out changes that they see will benefit the rider. Building off the modular design, there's a replaceable skid plates and 2 outer links, as well as a toolless cage assembly allowing replacement and upgrade options. But they've revised the battery position, tucking it in for more added protection from impacts. They've also used nickel plating on the cassette, which makes shifting even more quiet, and Sram says this will add to its durability as well. The crankset also has a nice clean look, as well as the same removable bash guards that we saw on the previous models. Now, the difference here being that these are composite, whereas the originals were alloy. Now, I've taken some pretty proper wax on the alloy ones, and they've held up really, really well and done their job. I think these composites will probably prove to do the same. All of this comes together at a package price of $1,100 USD. Now, that's $500 less than EXO, the next tier up, but it's certainly still a hefty price tag at almost double the cost of its cable actuated counterpart. Having spent a lot of time on transmission, I do see its value. And I think there's more to consider here than what our traditional experience might normally steer us towards. The modular design of the derailleur lends itself to a potentially lower cost of ownership, and the increase in shifting performance could prove to reduce wear on the cassette and chainring. But less obvious is the cost of maintenance and downtime. If you've ever felt your bike spends too much time in the shop with shifting issues, then you'll definitely find transmission will mitigate those frustrations. And for many people, there's a real value to that. Now, at 30% less than the cost of entry to transmission just a few months ago, The GX line is a welcomed addition that I think will prove to be the workhorse of the future. And to cover all the details on this T-type technology, watch this video here where I dive further into what makes transmission so different from every traditional drivetrain up until its release. Now, thanks for joining me today, and until next time, I hope to see you out on the trail.